What's the strongest indicator that someone is not a good person? How they treat people who have nothing to offer them. Being rude to weak or poor persons. How they act. Words can be masked or fake. Action is hard ass. They only care about you when they need something from you. The way they treat animals. How they treat people who are serving them, waiters and waitresses, grocery store employees, etc. Also how they treat animals. When they blame an algae bloom on vandals instead of their own stupidity. Nothing that has gone wrong in their lives is ever their fault. They are either a very shitty person or, if you're really unlucky, a narcissist who will cause you a lot of problems. When they see other people's progress as a threat. Lack of accountability. People think I'm an arsehole because I'm blunt and tell it how it is. They never take responsibility for their actions. They always find a way to put the blame on someone or something else. They can't take accountability or don't have empathy. They have need to constantly remind people they are a good person. If animals don't like them, they don't believe everyone is created equally. Those who are cruel to animals. The company they keep. They never use their turn signal. Lack of common courtesy, decency, consideration for others. Their relationships are just transactional. They lie, cheat, steal. They're selfish and self-absorbed. They're hypocrites. They bully other human beings. They're narcissistic. They abuse others physically, emotionally, verbally. How they handle criticism or feedback. They see absolutely everything only from their own very limited perspective. Cruelty towards animals. You don't need to love, or even like them. But I've known people who aim to run over stray cats. Insane to me. They use orange face paint. Mager equals not a good person. An inability to admit when they're wrong. Also signals a lack of intelligence. Suddenly becoming extremely religious and claiming that you have been absolved of all your sins is so you are now a good person. They hurt animals. Or children. People who can't do anything for them. How they treat people they believe have nothing to offer them. Also if their first instinct is to manipulate someone to get what they want or to ask for it outright. A selfish person who takes, and takes, yet never gives anything back. One of those attitude teas with some arsehole quote on it. They are mean. To everyone and everything. If that person is always the victim in every story they tell. How they talk about others. They unironically like Trump. They only text you when they need favor or money, otherwise silent. Pay attention to how someone treats waitstaff, cashiers, cleaners, customer service workers, strangers, animals, or people who can't offer them status or advantage. It's easy to be charming with a boss, a date, or someone they want something from. Character shows up when there's nothing to gain. Most of these sound like our current president. Constantly blaming others. Talking about people behind their back, but being friendly to their face. When they've got no respect for animals and nature. How they treat people and specifically people who can help them in any way. These days, mager hat or flag. When they tell you how good of a person they are. How they treat waiters. Jokes that will inevitably have a negative impact on the target, even if that target is happy to play along. Enjoying other people's discomfort or misfortune. Bullying those that are perceived as weak, badmouthing whoever isn't in the room. They're mager or religious or both. Mager aligned. Not sorry for saying that in any way, shape, or form. They make fun of people they feel are beneath them. How they treat customer service or animals. Silence or inaction when they have influence over how an injustice is dealt with. If they don't take responsibility for their actions. They lie and spread gossip about others to distract from how shitty of a person they are. Super common in office spaces. Rude to service people. How they act when there's nothing in it for them. How they treat a server. I know this is going to sound like I'm the pettiest person in the world, but when someone is too lazy to walk something back to where they got it in the store if they decide they don't want it, or just leaving your cart in the parking lot. People like that can't see outside the walls of their own little selfish existence. They have to inconvenience everyone else just to save 75 extra steps. My mother used to call me lazy my entire childhood, yet would park in handicap spots, make my father always drop her off at the door and pick her up, and would drive around a parking lot for an hour waiting for a spot close to the door to open up to save herself from having to walk. Yet I was lazy for wanting to spend my Saturdays not cleaning her house for her. It does seem that to a degree most people are nice upon first meet, but if that changes it's proof of a problem that was always there. Obviously, the quicker someone changes the worse they are, but if they change almost entirely within 2 months, then you're wrongin' entirely. You may have heard of people getting married and one person saying something like you're mine now and you can't leave, then yeah, that's deep water. Grey sweatpants in public. If they aren't willing or capable of seeing things from the eyes of their opposition. They lack empathy and emotional intelligence. Showing enjoyment of another person's or animal's pain. How they treat elderly people and or animals that aren't theirs. Take delight in other people's misfortune. Everyone is their enemy and somehow they're all we victims. They are asking this question on Reddit so they can figure out which personality traits to downplay. *** when they constantly tell you secrets or talk trash about their best friends if they're doing it with you, they're doing it to you ***. The way they treat people who can't do anything for them. Especially in private or if they have power. They don't like animals. How they treat service workers, if they keep the door open for other people or let it slam in their face, whether they lie there, how they treat nature. In short, how they act towards other civilians and how they treat nature. What they do when no one's watching. Of course they have to get caught doing it. They vote Republican, or are super religious, or are both. If they get satisfaction by seeding conflict between others versus trying to be a force for de-escalation and peace. They don't put the shopping cart back. When they go cruising on Tuesday nights to strangle prostitutes. They don't care about how their actions affect other people. In addition to treating animals maliciously. Being rude to service people. Deliberately hurting elderly people and infants. I'm going with failure to take responsibility for their own actions or behavior, and constantly blaming others for their own misfortune. How they treat animals, kids, and people with less than they have. Animals don't like them. Or they don't like animals. Gossipers. If they talk about others, they also talk about you. They are not kind to children and or animals.